Alright, so we have our pages set up for the settings and the weather, the main page. So what we're going to do now is start to work on both the UI, which isn't going to be too extensive. We're just going to kind of make it a darker color, darker theme, and also setting up our service, which is going to interact with the Weather Underground API. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to make the background for these pages a dark blue or dark purplish color. So what we'll do is open up weather.scss. Now right now this isn't being imported, so we have to go to theme and then let's see, app.core.scss, and we just need to import it like these other pages are. So we'll say @import, and it's going to be /pages/weather/weather. Okay, we also want the settings one. Alright, so let's go to weather.scss, and we're going to take the weather class, which we wrapped around everything, and we're going to set the background. Okay, I'm going to set it to a hexadecimal value of 333B5B. Okay, you can see this editor actually shows us the color. And then we just want to set the color of the text to white. Okay, if we save it, you can see that it's changed over here. Alright, now we want to do the same thing with the settings. I'm going to copy this and go to settings.scss, and then we're just going to change this to settings. Okay, so now both pages should have a dark background. Alright, so let's start to work with our API. So we're going to create a service, and we're going to create a folder in the app folder called services. Alright, and then in there we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this that's the last project, weather.service.js. Okay, we're going to import some things here. We're going to need the injectable library and inject, and that comes from the core, so we want Angular/core. Okay, we're also going to be using the HTTP module, so we want to import that. So HTTP, and this is going to be from Angular/HTTP. Okay, we also want to use observables. Okay, observable, and that's going to come from reactive extensions, so RxJS/observable. Alright, and then for the operators for reactive extensions, we're going to import RxJS/Rx. And that actually doesn't need curly braces. Okay, we just want to do that. And that should be good for all of our includes, our imports. Alright, so let's add the injectable decorator here. And then our class. So export weather service, class weather service. Alright, now we need to include HTTP as a provider, and to do that within a service in Ionic 2, we're going to say static get parameters. And what we'll do here is just say return and then pass in here HTTP. Okay, if you don't do that, you won't be able to use it. Then we'll have our constructor. Okay, the constructor also has to get passed in HTTP. Okay, and then we're going to set this .http set to HTTP. So just for now, I'm just going to console log, and we're going to say service connected. Okay, so now let's go back to the weather component, or the weather page, weather.js, and we're going to have to import the service. So that'll be from ... that takes us outside of weather, ... takes us outside of page. Then we want to go into services, and we want to call weather.service. Alright, now we're going to have to add it here in the providers array. And we also need our get parameters here. So we want to say static get parameters. Now inside here, we're going to say return, and we want to put in another set of brackets, weather service, and then pass it in the constructor with a lowercase w, because that's how we're going to access it. And we'll set this dot weather service equal to weather service. Okay, and then let's see. Let's go ahead and open our console, and we'll save this. Okay, and you can see here we're getting service connected, so everything's hooked up as it should be. So now we want to start to work with the API. So I'm actually going to take this window out, and let's take a look at documentation. Okay, so this is actually really easy to work with. If we look at this URL right here, we're going to api.wunderground.com/API/ and then this here is your API key. Okay, you want to use your own key, and then /conditions/q, and then we have the state and the city.json. Okay, if we show the response, you can see we get all of this information. Okay, we want to be working mostly in this right here, this object, current observation. Okay, that has things like all the location information here you can get back. We have all of the weather. You can see right here, weather is partly cloudy. Temp F, which is Fahrenheit. We have the temp in Celsius. We have a temperature string, which is both. We have relative humidity. We have all kinds of wind information along with the wind string that puts it all together. Pressure, dew point, heat index, wind chill, visibility, and there's even an icon URL we can use to get a nice little GIF icon. So this is a really nice API. I think it's really nice. There's a lot of information, and this is just the conditions. You can see over here under data features, we could even get the 10-day forecast. All right, and that might be a little challenge that you want to give yourself afterwards to try and implement that into the application. Okay, now in addition to, let me go back to where I was. In addition to being able to get it this way through providing the state and the city, there's also what's called a ZMW, which is a special number that will pertain to certain search indexes or certain search strings. So to look at that, we can go to the autocomplete API, and you can see this is what the autocomplete, the search looks like. This will give us back a query results depending on what we pass it. And you can see down here, let's take a look at the response. So if we were to pass in this, if we were to start typing San space F, it's going to match with San Francisco. Okay, and then whatever else matches up with it, and it gives you this parameter right here, this ZMW. So you can actually take that and actually, you know what I'm going to do is, yeah, we'll put that up there, and let's go back and grab this URL up to where the Q is. And if we were to search like that, you must supply a valid output format. Oh, it needs to be .json. Okay, so you can see that this is actually for San Francisco. So we can get it with this as well. And this is what we're going to be using because we're going to use autocomplete. We're going to start to search for a location. We'll have them pop up. We'll click on one, and then that's going to grab this value, and it's going to make a call using that. All right, but we're not going to get into that yet. I do want to set it up so we can actually just use the state and the city. So we'll do that first. So we need to go to weather.service. All right, and let's get rid of the service connected. And first thing we want to do here is put in the API key. Okay, so we'll say this dot API key is equal to, and then we're going to go and grab it. Let's see, we'll go to key settings, and we're just going to grab it right here, copy it. Obviously yours will be different. And then we're going to make a property for the conditions URL. Okay, we're going to set that to this right here. Let's go ahead and paste that in. So api.wunderground.com/API/ and then the key, which we're going to take this one out, and then just concatenate this dot API key /conditions/Q. Okay, that's the base URL. So we're going to have a function now called getWeather, and ultimately we want to pass in that ZMW value because that's what we're going to get from the autocomplete. But for right now, we're going to actually use the city and state just to make things a little easier to understand. Okay, now we're going to do here what we've done in many of the past projects. We're going to return an observable using the HTTP module and a GET request. So we're going to say return this .http .get, and in here we're going to pass in this .conditions URL, and we just want to add on to this. Okay, we want to just concatenate slash, and then we want the state slash, and then the city. Okay, and we also want to add at the end here .json. Okay, now we're going to use the map operator, so we want to say .map, and in here we're going to say res, and then res.json. Okay, so that'll return our observable. So let's save that. Now if we're to go to our component, so weather.js, and for now we're going to add in our constructor this .city, and I'm just going to set that to Boston, and then we'll set this .state, we'll set that to MA from Massachusetts, or use whatever you'd like. Alright, and then we're going to use ng on init for our initialization, so we're going to go up here and make sure we import that on init, and we're going to get that from Angular/core. Okay, and then down here under the constructor we're going to put in a function ng on init. So this is going to run when our page is loaded, and that's where we want to call that service function get weather. So let's do this dot weather service dot get weather. Okay, now we want to pass in the city and state. So this dot city, this dot state, and then it's an observable, so we want to call dot subscribe. I'm going to put this on another line. So dot subscribe, and in here let's say weather and let's do console.log weather. Alright, so let's see what that gives us. If we go ahead and save it and reload, if we look down here, we get an object with a response, and we get this current observation. If we look at that current observation, you can see we get all of that information. Okay, so that means our call is successful. So in the next video, we're going to take this information down here and we want to bring it into our application. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.